The system isn't working. Mark Carney calls out immigration mismanagement. Welcome back to Canada Chronicles. Today's video dives into a powerful moment that's sending shockwaves through Canadian politics. Mark Carney, former Bank of Canada governor, and now one of the most watched political figures in the country, just called out what many Canadians have been thinking. Our immigration system isn't working. He's not talking about closing doors. He's talking about the cracks behind them, rising housing costs, overstretched healthcare, overwhelmed schools, and a system that's falling behind the pace of population growth. Whether you're a student, a newcomer, or just trying to make rent, this episode breaks it all down. And stay with us, because later we'll explore a shift happening behind the scenes. The quiet push to reset Canada's immigration narrative. It could change the future of immigration policy in this country. If you care about where this country is headed, don't just watch. Be part of the conversation. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and make sure you don't miss what's coming next. Let's get started. Carney's critique came during a televised interview, and he didn't hold back. The system isn't working, he said. He pointed to the sharp increase in population, nearly 3% annually, fueled largely by immigration since the pandemic. These comments hit at a moment when more Canadians are expressing concern over strained resources and affordability. His words echoed frustrations already brewing across the country. Population growth without infrastructure. Since 2021, Canada has welcomed record numbers of newcomers. In 2023, over 470,000 permanent residents arrived. But even more significant was the surge in temporary residents, including international students, temporary workers, and refugee claimants. Combined, this pushed Canada's population past 41 million in 2024. Carney acknowledged immigration's value. It boosts the economy, supports an aging workforce, and fills labor gaps in sectors like agriculture, logistics, hospitality, healthcare, and construction. But he argued that bringing people in without expanding housing, hospitals, and transit creates serious pressure, and ultimately, public pushback, the immigration cap shift. In response to growing pressure, the federal government introduced a cap in late 2024. The original 2025 target of 500,000 permanent residents was reduced to 395,000. Numbers are set to decline further over the next 2 years. A separate policy was introduced to limit the number of temporary residents to no more than 5% of Canada's total population by the end of 2026. This includes international students who faced a second consecutive year of permit reductions, with a 10% cut in 2025 alone. These shifts have had serious ripple effects. Colleges that rely on international tuition are facing budget crises. Industries that depend on foreign labor are struggling to fill jobs. Why Carney's voice hits different. Mark Carney isn't just another public commentator. He's a heavyweight. He's been advising senior liberals and is rumored to be eyeing leadership. When he speaks critically about immigration policy, especially when that policy is tied to the party he's aligned with, it sends a strong message. His message wasn't anti-immigration. On the contrary, he stated that Canadians remain welcoming. The issue, he said, is planning. Canada's generosity isn't in question, he explained. What's in question is whether the government is doing the hard work to support that generosity. The housing crisis collision, the most visible consequence of poor planning? Housing. Prices continue climbing in cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Halifax. Rental availability has plummeted, and construction isn't keeping pace. Ontario alone is projected to need 1.5 million new homes by 2031 to support its growth. But bureaucratic delays, high building costs, and labor shortages have stalled progress. This mismatch has become a flashpoint for Canadians struggling to find affordable living. Carney called for a temporary cap, not to stop immigration, but to buy time for the country to catch up. If we don't pause and plan, he warned, we risk losing public trust. Immigration pathways in disarray. Carney also criticized how disconnected and confusing Canada's immigration streams have become. Federal and provincial programs often operate independently. As a result, many applicants face long delays or contradictory instructions when trying to move from temporary status to permanent residency. In early 2025, Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada eliminated points for arranged employment in the express entry system. This sudden change reshuffled the rankings overnight. Workers with legitimate job offers lost key advantages, frustrating applicants and employers alike. Changing the rules in the middle of the game undermines confidence, Carney said. Student permits and a sector in turmoil. International education, once a cornerstone of Canada's global reputation, is under serious strain. The government's 2025 cap on study permits brought the total number of new international students down to 437,000. Applicants now require attestation letters from provinces, and schools are prioritizing specific programs. The result has been confusion, mass cancellations, and growing exploitation by unethical agents. Some students have lost thousands on non-refundable deposits. Carney admitted the sector needed reform, but criticized how it's being handled. We need quality, not just quantity, but that starts with coordination and fairness, he said. Provincial fallout. Provinces have been left to adapt quickly. British Columbia's provincial nominee program saw its allocations cut by half. The province is now prioritizing sectors like healthcare and entrepreneurship. Meanwhile, thousands of skilled workers have been left waiting or excluded altogether. Manitoba introduced a temporary policy allowing eligible nominees to extend their work permits by 2 years while awaiting permanent status. It's a rare example of policy giving applicants time and stability instead of uncertainty. Still, across Canada, provinces are being told to stretch resources even further while handling the same affordability crises Ottawa is trying to solve. Who is immigration really serving? Carney's remarks lead to a fundamental question. What is immigration policy supposed to achieve in 2025? Economic growth, humanitarian goals, family reunification, regional development? Right now, the system tries to do all these things simultaneously, and the result, according to Carney, is that it isn't doing any of them well. The temporary foreign worker program has exploded in size, while it fills key labor shortages in sectors like agriculture and elder care. Critics say it also creates second-tier residents, people who work, pay taxes, but have little long-term security. Carney has been clear. If Canada wants these workers to contribute fully, the path to permanent residency must be shorter, simpler, and fairer. Thanks for staying with us this far. We appreciate your time and hope you're finding this information valuable. The quiet push to reset Canada's immigration narrative. Behind the scenes, a quiet transformation is underway. Senior officials in Ottawa are working on what's being described as a long-term reset of how immigration is designed and delivered. Immigration Minister Mark Miller has launched a full review of temporary resident streams. Programs with low performance may be merged or phased out, and stricter standards for labor market impact assessment approvals are on the table. A new model is being tested where smaller cities and rural communities receive targeted immigration allocations based on their infrastructure and workforce needs. This approach could reduce pressure on major urban centers, giving local leaders a bigger role in shaping population growth. Technology is also playing a role. Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada is testing AI tools to triage applications, speed up processing, and prioritize family reunification and humanitarian cases. Insiders are calling this broader effort the New Canadian Compact, a move to align openness with practical capacity. Real solutions emerging. Despite the turbulence, promising developments are starting to take shape. In early 2025, the federal government launched the National Housing Accord. This agreement fast-tracks $4 billion to cities that commit to rapid zoning changes and permit approvals. Cities like Vancouver, Brampton, and Halifax are already on board. Regional immigration pilots, such as the Atlantic Immigration Program and the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, are being reviewed for full implementation. These programs are designed to spread population growth beyond just the major cities and into communities that can benefit from it. Carney supports these initiatives, but stresses the need for follow-through. Announcements are easy, results are harder, he said. The bigger picture. What Mark Carney is calling for isn't a rejection of immigration, it's a demand for competence. Immigration is a Canadian advantage. It fuels innovation, diversity, and long-term prosperity. But when mismanaged, it creates resentment, inequality, and missed opportunity. The system needs clarity, data-driven planning, real investment in infrastructure, and a stronger partnership between the federal government and local communities. Carney's call is a reminder that we don't need less immigration, We need smarter immigration. Canada can get this right, but it has to act now. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive. Mark Carney's message isn't just a critique, it's a challenge. A challenge to rethink how we manage growth, how we protect opportunity, and how we build a system that works for everyone. Not just on paper, but in real life. Whether you agree with him or not, one thing is clear. The immigration debate in Canada has entered a new phase, and the decisions made now will shape our future for decades. If you found value in today's breakdown, do us a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe to Canada Chronicles, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We cover the stories that matter with facts that cut through the noise. Got thoughts on what Carney said? On the student caps? On the reset Ottawa is quietly planning? Drop a comment below. We want to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.